This is a recording of the Excel review for exam 1. This is the sheet that you should have downloaded, and here are the questions. So if we first question says that you need to download the sheet and save it at exam1 review underscore last name. You're asked to add a documentation sheet, enter your name and today's date. So you're clicking to add a new sheet. I'm going to put your name. And you are going to use the today's function to enter the date. You are to change the background for the documentation sheet to light blue, change the background of the cells containing the date and the name to white, and add a double line border around the cells. So to select the whole sheet, we'll click on that corner, top left corner of the sheet, and choose the fill color to light blue. And then you will change the background for the cells containing the name and the date to white. And you will add double borders. So you'll choose more borders so that you can choose the double for the outside borders. Okay. You are to go now to the Yahoo sheet, enter formulas in B12, D12, B21, D21, B23, D23 to find the sum of the current, long-term, and total assets. And on the liability side, we want to enter formulas in H10, J10, H16, J16, H18, and to sum each category. So let's go to the Excel sheet. So we want a sum of the total current assets. You can either enter a formula to sum, or you can actually use the auto sum. It will automatically highlight the cells above and enter. Do the same here. Now your total assets are the sum of the current assets and the long-term assets, so you will have to be careful about that. So it's B12 plus B21, and if you copy the formula, you can paste it in column D. So, and you can see that the formula now is D12 to D21. We'll do the same thing on the liability side. So my total liabilities are equal to the total current and long-term liabilities, so it's equal to, and I'm going to click in cell H10 and add to it the long-term, which is H16. Copy the formula by hitting Control C and pasting it using Control V. Your stockholder equity will be H21 to H25. And your total liabilities and equity would be equal to your total equity plus your total liabilities. Hit Control C to copy and Control V. Now one thing we have to be careful about when doing the balance sheet is that the debit side must be exactly equal to the credit side. So on the total asset side we have 14,928. That's exactly what we have. 14,928. I think these are like for year 2010, and then for 2009 we have 14,936. We want to make sure that we also have that same number on the debit side, 14,936. Okay, so that takes care of question number 4. It says in cell C7, enter a formula to calculate the percentage of each asset to the total of the category. Adjust the formula so that it can be copied to cells C8 to C11 as shown below. So as you can see, for every single item under current assets, you have a percentage that show the part or how much that particular item contribute to the total current assets. So if we look at these percentages, 35 plus 31 will be 66, plus 24 will be 90, and 10 will be 100%. Total current assets is 100%, so you're calculating how much is the cash out of the whole total asset. And you get the percentage just by dividing the cash divided by total current assets. So the formula would be equal to the cash divided by total current assets. Now, and I told you, before you copy formulas to other cells, you need to ask yourself, do I have a variable that is fixed? And the answer is, well, the B7 will change. This time I'm calculating percentage for cash and cash equivalents. The next line on B8 or row number 8, I'm calculating percentage for short-term investment, and then net receivables and inventory. So B7 will change. We don't need to do anything. But the B12 is fixed. I have only one figure for 2010, that is the current assets. So I can fix it, and I'll show you two ways actually of doing it, by pressing the F4, and that will add the dollar signs right away. So hit enter, and I have a 35.35, but I need it as a percentage, so I'm going to click on the percentage at the top, and now I'm going to copy the formula to the rest, and I have everything in there. Okay, now think about it. The B12, if you want to copy down the formula to both columns, column C and column E, you can do that, but you don't have, the B12 would not be fixed in terms of the column and the row. We can only fix the row. So instead of putting a dollar sign before the B, we'll just put a dollar sign before the 12 and say row 12 is the one that I will that I want to fix. So I'm going to hit Control C to copy that formula, and then I will select the cells, and I have non-sequential cells. So now I want to choose the cells in column E. They are not consecutive, so I need to hit the Control key and now select them here. And now hit Control V to copy the formula. So one more time. First, I wrote the formula in cell C7, and I said it is B7 divided by B $12. Let us explain why we kept it that way. The B7, as we said, is going to change. It will become B8, B9, B10, and also E7, E8. So nothing, there is no fixed value for B7. The B12, which is the total current asset, is fixed for column C, and then it becomes E12 in column E. So the 12 is the key thing that I need to fix, and that's why I put a dollar sign before the 12. Now I need to copy that formula to the cells in column C and column E. So I'm going to highlight the cells in column C, and then hit the Control key and highlight the cells in column E, and now hit Control V to copy the formula. Let's do that. Let's do the percentages for the long-term investments. Again, it is B14 divided by the total long-term investment in B12, and I'm going to fix row 12, so I'm going to hit row 21, I'm sorry. And now I have calculated it. I'm going to change it into a percentage, and then I will hit Control C to copy, choose the cells, and because they are non-consecutive, they're not right beside each other, I'm going to hit the Control key to select the second column, and now Control V to paste. Okay, one more time on the liabilities side. So again, equal to accounts payable divided by my total for current liabilities, which is H10. I need to fix row number 10, so I'm going to hit F4 twice and hit enter. Change it into a percentage and then copy it. Control C, paste it, choose the cells where I want to copy it. And Control V to paste. So check 84 plus 16 is the 100%, 76 plus the 24 is the 100%. Let's do it one more time for the long-term debt. H12 divided by my total long-term liabilities, H16, fix the row number 16. Change it to a percentage. Now copy it, Control C, select your cells. Make sure that you do not select the total, because the total is the 100%. And hit the Control key and select the second column. Control V to paste the formula. Last one. Common stock divided by my total stockholder equity. Fix the 26. Hit the F4 twice. Hit enter. Calculate the percentage. Because it's a 0% in here, I need to increase the decimal twice. So it's a 1.1. Control C. Select the rest. Control V. It's giving me okay. Control C to copy it. Now I need to select and hit Control V. If you want to remove the decimals for these ones, Well, to make sure, you need like to go and look at the, so it's a 0%, you need to actually remove the decimals from the percentage on both. So even for this one, we are going to remove the decimals. Okay. And we need to highlight all the percentages in light purple. Remember, if they are non-consecutive, then you need to keep holding the control button when you're selecting. You don't want to do them in more than one attempt. Okay, so the next question is about finding the top element in each of the categories. We need to create a new sheet, and we will create labels. So if we want the top current asset, the value of the top current asset, that will be equal to large, and you highlight the values for current assets, and you want the top one, so the index will be 1. So that's the top current asset, and the top long-term asset again be equal to large, and you highlight the values for the long-term assets, and you want the top one, so comma 1. Okay, and you will do the same for every single category. So that answers number 6. They ask you now to go to the college sheet, calculate the weighted average for each measure in columns D, F, and H. Make sure the total for each measure in cells D12, F12, and H12. So they want to total the weighted average, create a scenario for the current sheet and name it job focus, add a new scenario by changing the criteria to add more weight to the professor and less on the interest. Name the new scenario professor focus. Run a summary report for both scenarios. Make sure the cell names are meaningful. It sounds like it is a long question, but really it is not. So when we go to college, we see we have, as we said, 3 measures: economics, accounting, and marketing, and we want to decide on one of them. we have criteria that we use in order to determine the importance of each measure, and we rank these criteria. Right now, interest and job prospect has the highest percentages. So we want to calculate the average, the weighted average So I'm gonna first thing create labels for each of the columns that will have the weighted average. Okay, and I know that to calculate the weighted average for each criteria for each measure, it is the points, the score for the measure multiplied by the weight for the criteria. So it would be equal to the score of 2 multiplied by the weight of 40% for interest. And since the weights are in column B, and you will always be multiplying with these weights, so you need to fix the column. So we'll click on F4 3 times to get the $B7. So now we want to copy that formula to the rest, and we want to do it in one step. We don't want to keep on copying and pasting. So we'll hit the Control key while highlighting all of the cells that we want to paste in, and then paste in just one step, hitting Control V. I want to total the scores by clicking on Alt Sum, and again I'm going to copy that formula for accounting and marketing. Again, you need to hold the Control key while highlighting the total, the cell that will hold the total for accounting and the total for marketing, and you can see that your best alternative or the best measure right now is marketing. Now, for me to create a scenario, and we can create actually the scenario right now, but to run the summary, I need to name the cells. So I need to name this cell interest. And remember, you change the name in the name window and then hit enter. You have to hit enter. You cannot leave a space between two names. So if you want job prospect, you will need to put an underscore between job and prospect. Remember, you highlight the cell reference in the window, change the name, and then you have to hit enter. So we are going to compare them on the total. So you need to just name the cells that has the total for each of the measures. Okay, now we're ready to create a scenario. So we'll go under data and what if analysis, scenario manager, and we'll add a scenario. We'll name that scenario. They tell you job focus. And they ask you, where are your changing cells, the cells that you will change. And the cells that you will change are the criteria. So they are interest, prospect, difficulty, time, and professor. So hit OK. So right now these are their values. So you have now the job focus. I want to add now a new scenario, and I will name it Professor Focus. And now they want you to decrease interest. So we'll make it 0.2 and increase the professor. Actually, the B11 needs to be changed because it seems like we did not hit enter. So you will change professor to 25 rather than 5 only. Okay, so just make sure that this instead of B11 is professors. Okay, so now I want to run the analysis. I'm going to go under scenario manager, and if I want to show the professor focus, I'm going to click on show. So now you see that interest is 20 only and professors is 25. And if I want to run a summary, they ask you where are your result cells, and it's not just the 12. You need to also hit the control key and highlight the accounting and the marketing and hit OK. And now look at your summary. It says, okay, your changing cells are interest, job prospect, difficulty, time, and professors. Under job focus, interest has 40%, whereas under professor focus, it only has 20%. Same thing, professors have 5% under the job focus and 25% under the professor focus. So under the job focus, your best bet is marketing. But if you are looking for great professors, you have either the option of accounting or marketing. So that's really all for question number 7. It appears, as I said, as long, but really it's not. So now they want you to go to the expense sheet and calculate the total fixed and total variable expense. Okay, so we'll go down to the expense sheet, and we want to calculate the total fixed expenses and the total variable expenses. That's very simple. What you have to do is just like under home, click on the auto sum. And now you need to calculate the break-even. So they ask you to go to the break-even sheet and fill in the fixed and the variable, and the per unit revenue is 100. So your fixed is equal to, and you click on the expenses and select B6. Your variable is equal to, and again go back to expenses and click on total variable, and your per unit revenue is $100. Okay, and we'll just like take out all of this. think they were multiples of 5, the units. So just like fill the first 3 and autofill the rest of the cells. So if I have the revenue is equal to the number of units multiplied by the per unit revenue, and the per unit revenue is a fixed cell, so it will always be B7, so I need to fix B7. By clicking on B4, F4, I'm sorry, your fixed cost will always be equal to B4, B5, and again you need to fix it, so press on F4. Your variable cost is equal to the units multiplied by your the variable cost per unit, which is B6, and again we need to fix B6. Your total cost is equal to your fixed cost plus variable cost, and your total profit is equal to your revenue minus your total cost. Now, since I have my formulas for the first row, I can drag them down to the rest of the table, and I can see that somewhere between the 45 and the 50 is my break-even point. Look at this. At 45, we have negative $35 as the total profit. So we have a total loss. We realize profit at 50. So somewhere in between is my break-even point. Break-even point, this is a formula you need to remember. It is equal to your fixed cost divided by your revenue and you need to put it between parentheses, the denominator, the revenue minus your variable cost. So it is the cell is formulated as a currency. We need to change it as just general, and we need to remove the decimal places. So 47 is your break-even point. So going back to the questions, we've already calculated the fixed cost, the variable cost. We went to the break-even, we filled the whole formula, the whole table, and calculated the break-even. In 10, it says, if the company wishes to increase its profit to 4,000, use the goal seek functionality to determine the revenue per unit. So we go to the back to the break-even sheet. I need to go under data and the what if analysis, and this time I'm seeking a particular goal, so I'm going to choose the goal seek, and it says what is the set cell, and the set cell is your total profit cell. And as you can see, up until 80 you are not realizing the 4,000. So you're going to choose the last one, and you want to set the value to 4,000 by changing the cell, the per unit revenue, which is B7, and hit OK. And now it tells you that the price per unit should be $118 instead of just $100 for you to be able to achieve the 4,000. you can see that everything has been adjusted. The whole sheet has been adjusted. So now if I have 10 units, instead of them being equal to 1,000, now they cost, or the price is 1,180. So now going back to the Word document, it says, go to the blood pressure sheet, draw a chart to show the correlation between systolic pressure and weight, add a trend line and show the equation of the line, adjust the axis to space out the data on the chart, use the forecast function to forecast the systolic pressure in column Q for weights listed in column P. In column R, enter an if statement to enter the text at risk if 2 times the diastolic plus the systolic divided by 3 is above a 120. Okay, so here is the blood pressure, and first thing they want correlation between systolic and weight. Just trying to make sure. Okay, so if I highlight systolic and hit control and weight and go and insert scatter chart, I can see the correlation between weight and the systolic. And I need to add a meaningful title, so it is correlation between weight and systolic pressure. And I'm gonna delete the legend. And as you can see, it's not spaced out because we have the first point for systolic is really around 130. So I don't have anything below 130, and the same thing for weight. I don't have anything below the 150. So I need to adjust the axis. So I'm going to go under axis and the primary horizontal, and I'm going to choose the more primary horizontal axis options, and I will set the minimum to be 120. And we'll do the same again for the vertical. So much better now. I just need now to add axis titles for the x-axis and the y-axis. So under the layout, I'm going to choose axis titles, and for the horizontal, And again, add a title for the vertical. Okay, so everything looks fine now in terms of the chart. Again, we can go back and check again the requirements. So we have a chart, shows correlation between systolic and weight. We forgot to add the trend line and the equation. We have already adjusted the axis. So go back. So I'm going to add a linear trend line. I'm going to also display the R-square value and display the equation on chart. So I have an R-square of 0.8. Is that a strong correlation or not? The answer is yes, it is. And we can actually see that all of the points are around the trend line. So as I increase the pressure, I also increase the weight, or as I increase the weight, I increase the pressure. So your R-square is 0.8. That's a very strong correlation. And you have the equation of the line is equal to y equal 1.2057x plus 13.97. So the slope is the 1.2. We have these estimated weights, and I need to come up with a forecast for the weights. So I know that if I use the forecast function, it will ask for a value of x, and then we'll ask you for known y's. Your known y's are the pressures, and then the known x's are all of the weights that are given to us. Then close the parentheses, and it tells you if you have an estimated weight of a 160, the forecasted systolic pressure would be a 126. So now, before I can copy the formula to the rest of the column, I need to fix my known x's and known y's. So I'm going to hit F4 after the B2, and again after the B21, and again after the E2 and E21. Why am I doing this? Because the range, the fixed x's are these values, and the fixed y's, so they don't change. The range is constant, is fixed, B2 to B21, E2 to E21. Now I'm ready to copy the formula to the rest. So here are your estimates, your forecasts. And we are going to decrease. So let's look now at what they have given us and see if the estimated weight is around the 170. And we have a 173. Here it says you should have a systolic of 133. So 173 is here associated with a systolic of 132. So very good forecast so far. Okay, now the last part of the question says, in column R, enter an if statement to enter the text at risk if 2 times diastolic plus systolic divided by 3 is above 120. So going back to the Excel sheet, I'm going to move the chart a little bit to the right. That leaves this is equal to 2 times diastolic plus systolic all divided by 3. There is nothing fixed in here, so on the second column, on the second row, we are using C2 and B2, and then we need to use C3 and B3, so nothing fixed. I need not do anything to the formula. I can just copy it as is. And I'm going to reduce the decimals. And then the at risk. Equal to if the formula if F2 is greater than 120, I'm going to put at risk. Otherwise, I'm not going to put anything. So I'm going to put an empty text. I close. And of course, the first one is not at risk. So I'm going to copy formula to the rest. So I have here at risk, and again at row 12 and row 17. Okay. One last question, and that's the linear programming sheet. You need to enter formulas for the total profit and the used material, and then use Solver to calculate what would be the optimum value for man-o-war and secretariat. So going to the sheet, doesn't look like we have linear programming over here. Okay. I'm going to post that right sheet because it was missing one. So if I need like to calculate my total profit, and I'm only making one of man-o-war, and these are like scooters, and one secretariat, and the profit from man-o-war is 3,500, the profit from secretariat is 3,000. What should be my total profit? It is equal to profit from the first multiplied by the quantity plus profit of the second multiplied by the quantity. So if I'm just developing one of each, then it should be 6,500. So now you have certain constraints: the plant capacity, the labor, and the engine. And right now the capacity for the plant is, the maximum capacity for the plant is 200 for manual or secretariat. So it is equal to this multiplied by the constraint multiplied by the number plus the constraint again multiplied by number of secretariat. So whatever we decide on, the quantity should be less than 200. For labor, now I need 9 labor units in order to make 1 mano air, and I need 6 labor hours or labor units to make 1 secretariat. So again, it is the 9 units multiplied by 1 plus the 6 units multiplied by 1 for the engine cost. It is again equal to the 12 units needed for secretariat plus the 16 units needed for manual. Actually, I read them backwards. So we know that each of the used units should be less than or equal to the maximum. Now I want to find out what should be my maximum units, the optimal units that I should manufacture of each, given the constraints that I have, and that my goal is really to maximize profit. You know that this is under data, and you'll go under again what if analysis, and oh, I'm sorry, we're doing solver. Okay, you want to use solver, and the first question that asks you is what is it that you want to maximize, and you want to maximize your D5. So it is D5 that you want to maximize by changing variable cells B4 and C4, and the constraints that you have are, the first constraint is whatever I used of plant capacity should be less than or equal to 200. The second one is the labor is less than or equal to 1566. And the last one is the engine cost should be less than or equal to 2880. So here are my constraints, and I want now to use solver in order to find out what should be the quantity to manufacture of each. And now you can see that you should be manufacturing 122 of manual air and 78 of secretariat in order to maximize the profit. You can save the scenario like we did before, and that will cause you to realize a maximum profit of $661,000. And that's really all for the exam, I will go over it again in class. And so I'm hoping that you have already answered the questions yourself, and if there's something not clear, that you would ask me tomorrow to answer it in class. Okay, thank you all for